Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this new episode of Inspiring Our World. And you are going to be inspired because today I'm very excited to bring a wonderful consultant, Nancy Clyde, a gold consultant, to the podcast. And Nancy, we are going to be talking about empowerment, particularly self-empowerment. I want to thank you for taking your time to be with me today. I'm really pleased we're doing this. I know it's going to be fab. And you are just such a creative soul and such a versatile soul. You've had a lot of experience creating other businesses. You've got an amazing degree that you can tell us about. But how did this all come to be, Nancy? How did you show up with Nikken and become a gold consultant? That is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, that is an amazing thought. How did that happen? No, actually, I was searching. For years, having a family, and I was a mom at home. I wanted to know how I could keep my family healthy. But I would hear these people saying, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. And if you take this pill or this nutrition, well, then make sure you get a balance of so and so. And I'm going, I'm trying to just feed and keep clean clothes on the family, support my husband. And I thought that's just too difficult. And then as we went on and the children were getting older, I realized I had been supported by my father and mother, and had been just loved life. He was a diplomat overseas and we traveled and loved it. Then went to college, married my husband after my junior year, and I had to promise my parents that I would finish college. And anyway, graduated, and then I worked 2 years, real estate, helping builders with their floor designs and electrical plans, because what they had was just awful. Anyway, and then David and I decided before we were married that I would stay home. Well, that meant I learned a lot about stretching dollars. And that was and it really was a necessary growing for me, because I had lived a life of servants and travel and not a thought of what it took money-wise to do all of that. It was just a wonderful, fun life. Anyway, I ended up realizing my husband was really stressed about the finances, and I wanted him around a long time. He was a teacher and a coach. Well, when you stop teaching and coaching, you have your annuity, but there's nothing reproductive about it. There's nothing that's going to keep coming. And I thought I've got to find something. So, but I loved staying at home. So I had a list of what I was looking for. And it was, staying at home, having the potential of making a lot of money, and helping people. My jewelry designs were great. They loved it. My girlfriend said, no, we love it. We can bring you an outfit and you make our jewelry for us. I'm going, yeah, but that really doesn't make a difference. I want something that makes a difference. And so when my friend from church, and then we were in a Bible study group, said, Nancy, come over and have a massage. My first thought was, do I have to take my clothes off? And she said, no. And so I went over, and I realized another man was there. She was actually doing a 21 club, for anyone that knows what that is. And anyway, and I thought, well, I wasn't having to take any drugs. I was absolutely fine. And but he started talking about the business. And I really felt like for 3 months, because that's when I had thought of it, and I went, okay, I'm praying about this. I'm looking for this. I felt like I was Dumbo walking around with my ears out for anything. And I didn't want to have an 8-to-5 job, but okay, if that's what you have for me, Lord, okay, but I really want to stay at home. And you're going to have to really let me know that that's it. And so I knew it. I came home and I said, David, I know what I'm supposed to do. And my purpose before was raising my family, and they were still at home some. But when I found Nikken, I couldn't deny, I was scared out of my mind and so excited. I felt for months I was about a foot off the ground.
It's amazing. I have to. I want to ask several things. I want to ask, how old were your kids when you found Nikken? Actually,
One had graduated from high school, two were in high school, and one was in junior high at that
okay,
point.
got it. So they were a little older because your story and mine are a little similar because I was really asking for something. I was really praying for something to do from home so that I could be, because I love being a mommy, and I did have another business with energy medicine and so forth, but it was at home. Everything was from home. And so when this came along, I had the same feeling, like I knew this was it. I
Hmm.
knew this was it. I knew it was the answer to my prayer, and that made
Yeah.
me very fortified to become unstoppable.
Yes.
Um, which I think it
Fitted.
does. When you just know it aligns on every level, you're just like, I got it. I'm doing it. So
Uh-huh.
that is really, really fascinating because now I remember that you had your degree as about you got Bachelor in Fine Arts, I think, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yes. Interior
yes.
design. Yes.
Interior design, and then you had this jewelry business as well. So
Hmm.
you are such a creative being. And I want to ask a little bit too more about, you said your dad was a diplomat, so you traveled. So like, what was your initial culture that you grew up in? Did that shift a lot?
Well, I was 5 and a half when we first went overseas, and so we were in Nepal, Kathmandu, Nepal.
Wow.
And I mean, I spoke Nepalese a little, not fluently, but definitely enough to get around. Because when you're young, you just soak it in.
Yes.
So that was the culture. I don't know. I guess it was, I don't know, just accepting of whatever culture we were in. I'll tell you, when we moved back to the United States from 68 to 70, and then I went to college at that point, it was the biggest shock because I came back to what was my own culture and I was a foreign being. I was, and now I have connected with other friends and the military and your third culture. And the question people will ask you is, well, where did you grow up? And it's just, what am I going to say? You know,
Yeah. Do you
I
want
was
the short version or the long version?
Yeah, yeah. They said that really is the dreaded question. And when we were talking, we were going, you feel the same way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just don't want people to ask you that because it's such a difficult question to answer.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the cultures were the food, the beauty. Oh my goodness! When we were there, that was in 1957, and so we knew part of the royal family, and we would have be able to go into the king's forest, and Dad could go hunting, and things like that. But I was very young. Um, but it was just wonderful. But it really was nice being waited on hand and foot. I mean,
Wow, it's such an exotic beginning to a life, and then you came to this reality with your husband. You have four children, and it's like, oh, I've got to make ends meet, and what does that look like, and how do I do that? And what I just love is this versatility that you have, that you came from such a rarefied atmosphere. Really, I think you were in Nepal. I think there were other places. Didn't you were in Turkey for a
Turkey.
bit?
We were in Turkey, and
Yeah.
we had a housekeeper and then a nanny. My sister was born there, and so we didn't have as much help. And that is where I finally learned to cook. I wanted to learn to cook so much, and the cook and all would just shoo me out of the kitchen, get out of my way. And I'm going, I want to learn to cook. So
Oh.
mother would tell me what we were going to have, and she would be volunteering at the hospital or something as a gray lady. And she'd say, well, Nancy, you want to cook? Okay. And so I would fix dinner, and I was happy as a clam that I was finally able to cook. But
So I mean, this creativity, it in you, it just flows into so many parts of your life. And
Mm,
I have always felt with Nikken that Nikken is tremendously creative. It's one of the things I love so much about it is how
mm,
creative it is. And a big part of that is creating a new aspect of ourselves, right? It's growing into a part of ourselves that maybe we've never grown before. And I find that fascinating. This idea of self-empowerment, And
Hmm.
what does that look like, feel like, taste like? How did that happen for you? What have been the tools that you've used to
Well,
self-empower, to empower yourself, I should say?
well, it really, for me to be empowered is I really didn't believe in myself because I really hadn't had a corporate job or a job. It was always just things that I had control over. And so, really, Humans Being More that Nikken offers was a big aha. And I don't know how many times I've lost count. Um, Forgiving myself for not being perfect. I went through the thought that I needed to replicate what that leader does, but you're yourself. And I would have to come back and say, Nancy, what feels good for you in reaching out or how you talk to people or where, and oh my goodness, I made so many mistakes. But in all of that, I have become more and more self-assured and and able to continue. And it has been just commitment, perseverance, learning, always learning. It's like those Dumbo ears up, just listening for words that people say that go, whoa. And it really, when those words are said and it fits me, it goes in. And I'm going, that was meant for me. Boy, I can take that word or that thought or that way and use it. But it's like a leader would say, it was everything you hear and see. It's like a smorgasbord, and you pick out the things that are for you. And
Right.
that is what has helped me be empowered. And then also the encouragement from team members, cross line, up line, down line. Things that they see in me that I don't see in me or wouldn't see in me. And now I see more of it.
So they can reflect back to you these great
Yes,
gifts and talents that you have, that you're like, oh, but I just do that, like it's no big deal, right? But
yes,
it is
yes,
a big deal. And somebody else catches it and says, Nancy, you have this.
yes. But they have to keep saying it to me because
Yeah.
I just hardly can believe it. I'm going, and they're going, no, no, no. And then I'll do something, or there'll be a vote of confidence. A team member recommended me to speak at an event in Orlando. And then my Jack and Karen Inside said, Nancy, would you be the silver representative up on stage? And I thought, oh my, it's another one of those growing experiences. But it really is a kind of a landmark in my development that I had no idea until a minute or two. It wasn't more than 2 minutes before I went up on stage what we were to address in
Yes.
our little thing. And so it was thinking on my feet, just on the spur of the moment. And yet my roommate was in tears when I came back and sat down. She said, that was absolutely fabulous, Nancy. And because I took the risk then, and what people said, and I felt very good about it, that was empowering, and it keeps me going. And I've had my down times, but I go, if it weren't Nikken, what else? There's nothing else out there that I would want to dedicate myself to than Nikken. It's just it.
Yes, yes. I mean, I feel exactly the same way. So you said a lot in there, and it's the risk part. I think human being more denotes risk because we all like certain safety and security, and I know who I am. And even, I mean, identity wise, I know I was very identified with being a mother and being a wellness, really a healer was what I was doing before,
Yeah.
and just shifting that and changing that and discovering that ability, say for public speaking, which people are so afraid of, and then discovering, even though I was terrified, that I actually could do it. And I actually just met my son for lunch the other day, and he was doing a presentation where
Oh,
he works, and he was saying how nervous he is. But I remember him speaking in other events saying, Ryan, you're a natural, you can do this. And he had done it, and he was so exhausted afterwards, but thrilled, so it's growing pains, right? Growing isn't easy. We have to take risks, but This is one of the things I love in Nikken, is that it's constant growth. We never stop growing, right?
That is true. Yes, and it's also an awareness of my thoughts or others' thoughts, which I wouldn't have. I don't know what. I can't even describe it. I wouldn't even, like, the growth that I have had. I suddenly recognize it as, oh, that was a good thing, instead of just doing it and going on. I'm really saying, wow, I am changed. I am a different person. The first big event I ever went to, the consultant of the year was speaking, and afterwards I said to my sponsor, I said, I can do that. I mean, oh my goodness, and that was, I mean, I guess I had just signed up, and I said I could do that. So anyway,
you see, that is so critical, right? The seeing somebody else and saying, if you can do it, I can do it. That ownership, you took ownership. And I think that's absolutely critical as an entrepreneur, because, you have to take ownership of your own business, because you're the one who drives it. And the power of, what did I want to say? The point of power, it's always inside us, right? It's not, I mean, it's inside everyone else, but you can't do it for someone else. You can help them, you can support them, but the point of power is always within the self, which is why self-empowerment is so critical in this. And with women, I think one of the biggest issues is something you hearkened on a little earlier, is this issue of self-worth. That women have, for whatever reasons, cultural entrainment, whatever it is, we have issues with self-worth, especially around owning our own business or making money and all these things. And as your self-worth grows, your business grows. It doesn't happen the other way around, right? Your self-worth grows as you take risks. And you practice, and then your business grows, and then the money grows as a result, because it's always a result, right? The money is always a result of the effort, the actions that you've taken. So let's talk a little more about that self-worth. Why do you think women do struggle with self-worth?
I don't know. I had a very supportive father. He was a great listener. He was wonderful. I had two brothers and myself and my younger sister, who was born in Turkey. And I don't know. I mean, he always built me up. Well, that was one of the things I had to overcome, was that I knew I wasn't as perfect and up on a pedestal as he placed me, really. I mean, it was almost the reverse of what you would think, because I'm me. But, he, for the longest time, I was his only daughter, and he'd say, oh, you have me around your little finger, and he was a precious man. He died suddenly in a plane crash when I was 26. So I've missed him for many, many years. But I don't know the self-worth thing. I'm kind of at a loss. Part of it.
Yeah.
It was that I was a mom, and people knew me as a mom. And so a thing I had to overcome in my mind was that, who's going to take me seriously? I'm just a mom. Well, what I was looking for, and now that I'm a grandma, is over the years, I have mentored younger women, or David and I have mentored people who are about to get married, marriage mentoring. And we wanted to just pour ourselves into them with what we have learned. Well, that really helped me so much, because I knew what my focus audience was, who I was wanting to reach. And it's, well, who are you, Nancy? And I said, I'm a mom, and the kids call me Mimi. And and David, he's a coach. I have reached out and helped referees, players, former players, all of that. So that is our field. Well, that gave me self-worth, because I knew what I knew, and I wanted to share it. And it's the parenting, it is all of that, but then it's, oh my goodness, you have got to be careful with food. You've got to be careful. Oh my goodness, they've got to have sleep. All the aspects that we have learned with Nikken. And even though the business was my reason of thinking this is it. As you get in and you use some of the products, because I mean, that was my first introduction. I went, this is it. I'm just, oh my goodness, everyone needs to know this. I mean, we're getting further and further away from nature. And so just, I guess were we talking about self-worth? Was that it?
Yeah. It's all connected. So
it's just, you have a message. I know I have a message. Yes. And some people will hear it. Some people won't. Before, I would just be devastated when something didn't work out. In other words, someone wouldn't recognize the value of what I had shared with them. Now, I've learned so much and just say, okay,
that's right.
It's not for them.
Because you don't have the power over somebody else's decision-making, actions, nothing. It's just, it's understanding we're messengers and we bring forward the message with love and truth and exuberance, and they either get it or they don't, and being unattached to that outcome. I think that's huge. But I wanted to harken back on the self-worth a little, because the other day, on Facebook, I put this little meme thing, it was a little thing, and it said, here's the thing, it got more likes and comments, and not that I put stuff up there to get likes and comments, but it just happened to, I was like, this is interesting. And what it said, Nancy, is it said, you're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.
Yes, I read that.
People just loved it. You saw it, right? Yes. And I was like, wow. Why? I'm always questioning, why do we all resonate with that so much? And I think from what you said, like your dad put you on a pedestal and you're like, oh my gosh, this is scary. I'm going to fall. I'm going to fail. I'm not as great. I'm not perfect, basically. But we're all a work in progress. But he also saw the masterpiece in you, right? He saw you naturally as his perfect little girl. And as it should be, as we would all wish for from a dad and a mom, hopefully too. So I think there's a lot in there. And then also the mothering, that a lot of times mothering and the importance of mothering and being a full-time mother has been, down low on the totem pole. And yet it's the most important job in the entire world, I believe. And I was a full-time mom for the first 12 years, I think about 12 years, pretty much, certainly 10 years. And then my kids were 9, 11, and 12 when I started Nikken. And then they kind of just saw me change hats and put on this like entrepreneur business hat in a way they'd never seen. And they're like, who's that? Who's that? And of course they loved the products and everything like that. But they loved the business. And one of the things that touched me greatly, I'll never forget, was my kid's response, when I went diamond and royal diamond, and, my son just saying, I've never seen anyone turn their life around the way my mother did. Yeah. And it was so moving, because we were really in a bankruptcy situation, when I started. So it was a very scary situation. I just had to put the fear behind me and say, I can do this. I prayed for this. This is what's come. It's going to work. It's going to work. And I just have to work. And you have to work. You have to talk to a lot of people to find those people that resonate and get it and say, yes, I want those products. Yes, I want this business. It's a lot of work, but it's beautiful work. And it's work that makes such an impact in society. I think with the 5 pillars of health, the societal pillar has probably been always one of the most important to you and me, because you spoke about that, my mission, what can I do, and making jewelry for your costume isn't going to change the world. And obviously you had something in you that wanted to change the world. Yeah,
exactly. And this was just so perfect. And in honing my expectations, or with whom I share, I will tell, I stood up at a leads meeting a week or so ago, and I said, I am looking for people who are looking for me. I am not trying to convince anyone, but who doesn't want better health, and who doesn't want possibly more money, another flow of income? And I said, that's what I was looking for, and I'm a product of that. Another thing is, after so many years with Nikken, and it can happen quickly, but when I went to this, it's a new leads meeting, and they said, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, they were shocked out of their minds that I had 11 grandchildren. They obviously said and acted, how can you be that old? And so, and I thought, yes, I am the product. And other friends are in other companies and they want me to use their things. And I go, I am a product of Nikken. I'm nothing else. I'm not going to have any facelift. I am me because this is Nikken and this is what I have lived.
That's
So
beautiful, Nancy, because I think all of us, we want to be a product of the products, right? I mean, that speaks volumes. That speaks
yes,
volumes. People often say to me, wow, your skin is so great, or how do you look so young, and you couldn't possibly, because I have 4 grandkids and they say the same thing. And I'm like, it's living in a Nikken wellness home.
yeah,
It's drinking this water every single day, the only water I drink.
yeah.
Water, I sleep on a sleep system every night for 28 years.
Mhm.
Breathe the air. I have 6 air systems in my home.
We
Why?
had
Because they
7.
work.
I beat ya.
There you go. And the nutritionals. I've been on auto ship for 28 years. And there's not a
Wow.
day goes by I don't have my J greenzymes and lactoferrin and everything else.
And something as an aside, when we had Jade Greenzymes, and I found that I was with the kids when they woke up late as teenagers, jump in the car, rushing too fast down this road to get to school, and
Yes.
they hadn't had any breakfast. And I was just, you guys have got to get up earlier. You've got to eat some breakfast. Well, they had Jade Greenzymes. And I said, okay, I don't care what cold anything you put it in, juice, milk, water. If you will take a teaspoon of this and dump it in there, shake it up and drink it, I will not gripe. And they did it. And I mean, there's so many different aspects of the pluses of Nikken. It was just calmer in the morning because I
Yes.
knew they were getting better nutrition in that teaspoonful, the heaping teaspoon, than anything I could have given them to eat. And
That's
so
brilliant, Nancy.
it was
That's so
just,
brilliant.
yeah, and it was just help my mothering.
Yes. I remember, and how with kids it's so hard when they're teenagers to get them up for school at all because they're sort of groggy because they need a lot of sleep. I noticed right away after having the sleep system with the children, that was no longer an issue because they'd wake up and they'd be ready and I didn't have to cajole them and, it's come on, which is such an awful thing, to have to as a mom. You don't want to be kind of pushing them along. And they would it changed everything. Just the sleep alone, I found that was huge. And then, the nutritionals, and they love them. And, it's like the moment they, get a bit of a cold, even today, they're like, Mom, do you have immunity around? I'm like, I always have immunity. I always have several bottles because I know you're going to need it. I'm going to have to give you a bottle, It's kind of a running joke.
I'm sorry. Now that they all have their own children, something will come up and they'll say, okay, Mom, this is it. What do you suggest? I'll say lots of water. Do you have any lactoferrin in the house? And 2 of them live far away. And immunity, you got to keep, extra, you've got to have that. But it's so gratifying to me when they call, text me, whatever, and say, well, what do you suggest, Mom? This is the issue. Yes, we did take him to the doctor. This is what they said. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what can I do? I said, to help the body help itself, give it what it needs. So that's very gratifying. But we sent all of our kids off to college. And then when they were married, I think the air system had come out by then. We sent them off with water, a sleep system, and air.
Yes.
And now their spouses, their new spouses, weren't exactly on board. They didn't understand. But anyway, it's good. They've all been married, happily married, and Mimi keeps her mouth shut sometimes.
I think you have to sort of know when they need their own. I mean, of course, all kids need their own autonomy. We all want our own autonomy, and the older they get, the more autonomy they want, and to just trust that, and to trust that they're smart enough, and that you've given them a good background, you've given them a solid base, that they know what they know deep down. Their intuition's going to kick in when it needs to, and they're going to make their mistakes, and they're going to go and forget that J Greenzymes was ever a useful thing, and then they'll come back, when they need to. And sometimes it takes sickness to have them go, oh, I think I need to be a bit more responsible for my own health. you know?
Right. Right. I was in my mid 40s or so when I found Nikken, and my oldest daughter just turned 45. And so I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to start, things change as you get older, and they're going to kind of, and that's my prayer sooner than later that they will really go, wow, we really do need to be consistent with this instead of trying to treat something. No, just give your body what it needs, and then you won't know what you've avoided. But
That's right. And the tools are so simple to use. I mean, you breathe this air. You drink water, drink this water instead of that water. You sleep anyway, so sleep on this instead of on a regular mattress. It's so easy to incorporate. And I've always loved that these are tools that are just brilliant. I don't know. It just endlessly inspires me. Can I say it that way? I am inspired endlessly, I will say. By these Nikken products. I mean, really, I realized the other day that in the 28 years I've been involved, that, I other than migraines, which were caused by an allergic reaction to tamari, a food that I didn't realize I had, which did a histamine thing. Other than that, I have not had a day in bed sick.
wow.
Not had a day in bed sick. I mean, my kids never, I mean, I have tons of energy. I go work out, I do my thing. I'm like, I'm out and about just playing in life. And other people, one of my grandkids said recently, like, why, why you're not like our other grandmother, is what he basically said. And I felt bad, and he was like, you have all this energy and you can run with this and play with this and do these things. And we were going on the go-karts and it really struck me. And I said, well, I live in a Nikken wellness home and I eat like this. This is how I eat. And I drink very little alcohol, and this is how I live, and I exercise, and it works. Just that easy.
That is true. A thought came to mind and then it went away. So I'm not sure what it was, but it was something about.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it will. Moment that I think what you mentioned, water and sleep. And sleep was the thing. It was before we had the water or the air, but sleep was the big thing. That we just got a pillow and we had our shoe inserts for the day. And with that pillow, there was such a difference that I said, we have got to have this. If this is how everything works, I didn't even know I was sleep deprived. I was not getting into deep sleep. So I was taking a nap, and I was so blessed to be at home. So, kids, the youngest one taking a nap, mom's going to take a nap. And I realized I was sleeping from 10 to 12 hours, really, between the nighttime sleep and the nap a day. Well, we got the sleep system. I mean, that's why I sent them off to college, because I know I was sleep deprived because I didn't do what my father said, which was get to bed, get good sleep. You can't learn without good sleep.
Yes.
And I didn't do that my freshman year. But after 2 weeks, I would not get up in the morning. David was a teacher and a coach. He got up with the kids. He got them off and all that. I would get up. Then all my friends, when they were preschool, they said, don't call the Clyde house before 9. They all sleep. And I said, yeah, it's wonderful. And I just thought I enjoyed sleeping, but I wasn't getting the sleep I needed. After 2 weeks on the sleep system, I walked into the breakfast room and David was sitting there and he went, what are you doing up? It was 6 a.m. I said, David, I am totally rested. And I didn't want to get out of bed. It felt so good for those 2 weeks. But you have to get up. There's life. But anyway, after those 2 weeks, I came out and he was just, what? We'd been married, almost 30 years or more. I can't even know how many. And it was just, wow, this is all new. And so now, when we heard about getting to bed between 10 and 12, I heard that one.
This is snowing outside, and just a big chunk of ice fell off the roof.
Fell down.
Yeah.
If you get to sleep during that time, and when I can get in bed at 10, read a little, and then go to sleep, it is a totally different day the next day. Even though I might get to bed at 10:30 or 11 another time, that is the sweet spot. And he said, you will not be able to make that quality sleep up no matter how late you sleep the next day. And that made a big impression on me. And when I accomplished that, because life is crazy, and like I heard you saying, was it to Randy Rolfe, that you were staying up playing the piano, it was late and you needed to go to bed and get to sleep. And I thought, yeah, we all have that. Oh no, this is really great. But when I get in bed and get to sleep, oh my goodness. And I would say that is my favorite product. I just don't know what I would do without my sleep system.
I think I agree with you 100%. Actually, I was on a call just yesterday and I said that to someone. I said, actually, the sleep system is my most favorite of and I love everything. And you're right. Once you figure out something works, you're like, well, if this works, then that's going to work and that's going to work. And you're right, it all works. So yeah, I think sleep is totally critical for a healthy life, and I aim for sort of 10 o'clock and then get up around 6.
And what's so wonderful is now people are becoming much more aware of that. I mean, you see it everywhere, really.
But it's an epidemic right now. People are not sleeping, and this is a huge epidemic. I think, it's an enormous aspect of business growth for all of us is sleep. Sleep, because everybody's looking and searching, and now there are sleep experts popping up left, right, and center, and there are sleep clinics everywhere, and people are getting checked out. But it's, and the Mercura pillow, I have to say, I have loved all the pillows, used all the pillows, but the Mercura pillow is the best. I tell everyone it's the best sleep I've ever had. I literally lay down, and within 30 seconds, a minute, I'm out, I'm gone. I don't, I'm not timing it, but it's super fast. I can tell you that. It's amazing.
When you get into your bed, you're not really sure, what is great. It is wonderful, that pillow. And we were at our son's house. We go over maybe once or twice a month to help them with the kids, because they both end up working on Sunday morning. She at a hospital, him at the church. Anyway, and I said, I'm taking a nap. Well, the TV was on. Well, I do wear hearing aids, so I took those out. I can still hear, but muffled. And I had my Mercura pillow, and I propped it over on the arm just so it was a nice slant. And I didn't even have a Nikken comforter. I just pulled one of their little wraps over me, and I went into the deepest sleep. It was only for about an hour because my husband woke me because we needed to drive home. And I didn't know where I was. I was in the middle of a dream, and I was just and I tell you, I thought it's not been that, it's been good sleep, but not that deep a sleep when I have taken a little nap or just rested, propped my feet up. And I thought, yeah, this pillow is amazing.
It's a miracle.
Agree.
Nancy, our time is whizzing by, and I want to just say, what else do you want to share with our audience, for women, for self-empowerment, the products, the business, life?
I have something to say. Way back, I was at a meeting, and do you remember Ray Crum?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. He said, I don't know if I should be insulted or not, but someone said, if you can do it, I can do it. And he's going, well, what kind of statement is that for me to hear? And we all cracked up laughing. But it really is. That is the message. If I can do it, when you live overseas, we were not allowed to work, we didn't have the little teenage jobs and all that. So my work experience when I was in Virginia was babysitting for 35 cents an hour. And that was it. My junior and senior year in high school, make a little money. But you'd work hard. Oh my goodness. And make that little bit of money. And so my belief that I could make any money, I still have checks that I took pictures of, and went, you did this, Nancy. And so wherever you are, if it really is making the decision, but it has to resonate with you. You cannot force yourself to say, well, Nancy likes this, I guess I will. No, it's got to really go, wow, this is it. I am looking for more money. I am looking for my body and my family to just function better. Something like that. But anyone can do this. And if any group can do it, is the Nikken community. The collaboration, the humans being more, the reaching out for help, and they truly are pulling you up. And if they could, they'd push you, but we all have learned you really can't push a string. So no, let me pull you up if you reach up for help,
Love
but
that.
anyone can do this. It's just it's just wonderful, and we can all grow. I am more aware of my growth now than before. The more you grow, the more you go, wow, that was another step up. Or I would say in the past, that was peeling my onion. Another layer came off of belief in myself, belief in the people I'm working with, whatever. But
Yes.
it's peeling your onion to get
Yes.
sweet heart. And every day is new and different. And I have no idea where it will stop. I can't imagine, but it's a wonderful trip, wonderful trip. And I
Yes.
love knowing that I can empower other women and moms and men, anyone.
Yes, yes. And we are blessed to have you as part of this community. You're such a great contribution. We all love you so much. Gosh, I feel like we could talk for hours. I know we can't, but thank you for this time together. It's really valuable, and I hope that especially the women out there are listening, that that we can become self-empowered, that it's an ongoing process, that we do it together, that you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress
Yes,
at the same time.
yes, yes.
I
And
love
let me
that. It's
Yeah,
just
that is
great.
so good. And also, I wanted to tell you that you were an inspiration for me to say, I can do this, because my sponsor was a very artistic person in theater and all, and art artistically. And she said, you need to meet Julie Tara. She was a ballerina. I mean, a professional ballerina. And she is just going with this. And I thought, if Julie can do it, I can do it. I can do it. And it's just amazing. But no, you knowing Anne, and then she was pointing me to you, and I said, yeah, okay, because I'm right-brained. I am not like this. I'm not like my husband. You could set the clock by his schedule, in the morning, getting ready and all, not me. And I thought, how can this work? But it can. You can make it whatever you want, however you want, and help those that you want to help. It's just wonderful.
Thank you, Nancy. It's so
I
true. You can be very right brain, and you can win in this business by helping others win. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it, and that you develop belief in yourself, that really anything is possible, and that we're always peeling the onion, and we're always getting better, and we're growing every day. And that's how life should be until the day we go. And
That's
then we'll
right.
grow in a whole other way. So thank you, Nancy. Many blessings to everyone. Please do follow this podcast, and don't forget to share it with everyone you know and love that you feel could benefit from the knowledge that you've learned today. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Nancy. We'll see
Bye-bye.
you soon.
Okay.